Hi, this is Steve from PixelBump. Welcome to our final AE Bootcamp tutorial on expressions and scripting. Let's talk about the difference between expressions and scripts. Both of them are modified JavaScripts that you can run inside of After Effects. Expressions are runtime. That means they're calculated as your comp is playing. And the script is a run once. It's more like a regular program. You run it, it does its commands, and it finishes. So let's take a look at a couple of expressions that I use all the time. The first one is going to be the loop out. Here we have a really nicely animated squash and stretch ball. It jumps up and it comes back down. And then it jumps up and it comes back down. And the reason it's doing it once is we only have one set of keyframes. Now you could come in here and just keep adding sets of keyframes so it'll bounce every once in a while. But what if you wanted to go in and then change the timing? Well, this is where loop out allows you to do both of those things quickly and easily. We're going to just click Alt on our position, type loop out, open and close parentheses, and a semicolon. Then we're going to come down to the scale and repeat that exact same thing. Loop out, open and close parentheses, semicolon. Now, it's going to keep repeating that command over and over again. So if we want a little more time at the end here, we can just pull that right on out, and the expression will run it that way. Or we could come in, make any other modification. Let's go ahead and increase the amount of time it takes for it to get to its peak. And grab those keyframes, pull them over, and again, the expression has completely updated. We only have to deal with the one set of keyframes, but we're getting a nice loopable animation. The next thing we're going to do is look at the spin forever. This is an expression that I found online. What it does is it allows you to take the rotation, we'll alt-click to bring up our expressions, and we'll paste this guy in. And it says spin, rotate at constant speed without keyframes. So if we hit preview, there it goes. It's spinning away. But if it's going a little too fast or a little too slow, we can always come in and change the velocity here. And now we've got it moving much slower. This is so good for UI elements where you want a constant motion and you don't want to have to keep adjusting keyframes based on that motion. The next thing we're going to do is look at our little bounce script. So say you've got that text dropping in, and it's fine. There's, just a little boring. Well, what if we want to give it a little bit of recoil? Well, I'm going to copy over a script here and paste it in. And you'll see this is a pretty big script. It's got a lot going on. But what it does, it allows you to have a nice recoil animation without having to add any keyframes. Now, both of these two scripts here are going to be available online. Here's the spin, here's the inertial bounce. I hope you enjoy using them as much as I do. Next, we're going to take a little look at a basic script. We're going to look at the layer sequencer. This is a script that's available in the free stuff section. It does just what it says it does. It sequences layers either in order or randomly, and it's just a really nice time-saving script, so you don't have to come in and constantly offset your layers. You just select them and offset. Well, how is this script working? Let's take a little look at it. The first section here is just for the UI. What it does is it allows us to have user input. So here we have a text box and a preset number of 24. So when you open up the layer sequencer, you'll see there's already a preset number. So that way, if somebody was using the script, they would always have some sort of offset happening. Then here, where it says generate sequence layers, we have a button. And the button calls, right here, button sequence. This button calls an on-click function, and the on-click function is called the sequencer. We get a variable, which is just a way of saying a piece of information given a name. So this number here is given a variable called offset frames. That is just a way for us to reference that piece of data inside of After Effects. The next variable is the current comp, which is just set to the active item, whichever project you have active in After Effects. And then it runs a little if script. And the if script is just trying to find out if something is true. And in this case, it is if the current comp, which is the active comp, number of selected layers is less than 2. So if I only have one layer selected, it'll tell me that there's a problem, that I need to select more than one layer. Otherwise, it's going to go through this little for loop. And a for loop is just a way of repeating a piece of code until a condition is met. And in this case, I'm declaring a variable at 0. I is equal to 0. And what I want to say is while this number is less than the number of selected layers I have, so while 0 is less than 6, while that condition is true, run this piece of code. And here, by saying I++, we're telling it, once you've run this condition once, add a number here. So for right now, I is 0, it checks this condition, and now it's going to say I is 1. Is I or 1 still less? Then run again. If it's still less, run again. And what it's running is taking the layer, the first layer in this order, and offsetting the layer's start time. The start time is exactly what it sounds like. It's where the endpoint is on your layer. And where that endpoint is going to be the layer's number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, that's what it ends up being, times the offset frames, which we've set here with our offset number, times the current comp's frame duration. The current comp's frame duration allows this script to be run in either 24, 30, 15 frames a second, any time base that you like. And that's all it's doing. Once it's run through those 6 layers, I will now be equal to the selected layers and the for loop will end. The last thing I'll mention here is that we have an app undo group. And what the app undo group does is allows us to run the script, and then if we want to undo, here we have undo sequencer. It's grouped all of the actions it's done into one undo. Otherwise, you would have to hit Control-Z or undo 7 times. Now the next section is about the random layer generator, and this one gets a little more complex than I want to get into in an introductory lesson. If you want to get more in depth with scripting, I have another tutorial called Replication Through Scripting, where we go through how to use an Excel spreadsheet to create variations on the same graphic. If you've liked what you've seen here and you want to find other scripts that can help you in your work, please go to AE Scripts. There's a lot of really great tools here. If you don't find something that fits your needs here, maybe jump over to AE Enhancers. This is where I did a lot of my script learning. This is a great community, great forums, and a lot of people that'll help you get your scripts working. Alright, that's the end of our AE Bootcamp. I'm sorry we don't have a certificate, but you can always go out and brag about everything you've learned to all your friends. Thank you so much for watching. Please check out our other tutorials. If you have questions, you can always ask me on Twitter or Facebook or down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something. Go and create.